Hey everybody, Dr. J here. I'm very excited to be here because I know that a lot of you guys are enjoying your holidays. You guys are spending time with your friends and family. But possibly the reason why you're here and what you might be interested in learning more about this is because we need, as parents and as busy professionals, we want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. And the saying goes is that if we're not taking care of ourselves, it's going to be a lot harder to take care of others around you. You're going to be that potential mom or dad that's always trailing behind, that always feels like a ghost of themselves or a shell of themselves, that always feels like they're surviving and not thriving. And if you're somebody that ever feels that way, where your energy levels are low, your body's in constant pain, the diagnoses of what your doctors are telling you, it's like this now, this it starts from just minimal blood pressure issues. And now you just have this laundry list of different ailments and diagnoses. Is that we need to start thinking about how we can start taking care of ourselves. If you're somebody that lives in the USA, let me know. Comment where you're from. I'd love to hear where you're coming from. But we know in the USA is that we live in this place, we live in an environment where success is like you're either successful or you're not, right? And the bar is set so high with what is successful financially or what makes you successful as a mother or a father. And a lot of times that bar is set so high that we're constantly in this fight or flight. So we're always feeling this burden or this stress, and that stress can often feel very overwhelming, can make us feel anxious about ourselves or our roles as parents or as a spouse or as a friend. And when we have that constant stress, it doesn't allow us room to breathe. It doesn't allow us that self-care. So what this live stream and what this topic today is all about is not just self-care, but it's also giving you real life strategies that I've used personally in order to take care of my body. I know that there's many people that are less physically active as me. And I know there's a lot of people that are doing just as well, if not better than me. And I want to just share from my experience as a father of two who's running multiple businesses, has multiple jobs, but also one of the more important job that I have in my life that I want to continue to prioritize is being a good, strong, and active father, a good, strong, and active husband to my wife. And if you're not feeling that way, you feel like you're weak, you feel like your body's always hurting, you feel like you have to say no to certain things that you don't want to. Your kid is asking you to go on vacation or to play pickleball with them or maybe go for a run, but you're always second guessing how your body's going to feel. So you say no, I'd rather not even take the chance. If that's somebody, if that's how you feel, comment the word self-care below because I'm going to share with you at least six. Yes, six. I'm going to share with you six different strategies and six different tactics that I use in my own life to maintain my body, keep it pain-free, and keep it strong and as mobile as possible as I get older. Because if I don't promote self-care, like thousands and millions of different parents out there, you know very much how that can make you feel stressed, overwhelmed. You start to worry about your long term health. You worry if you're going to be a burden on your family. And I know exactly how that feels. When I was stuck in chronic neck and back pain, I was just wondering how I would survive the day. I would wonder how I'm going to be as a father or be as a husband. I contemplated not having kids because my body was in so much pain all the time. So I know firsthand what that feels like. And if you're feeling that now, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling with sharing you six different tactics that you can use during the holidays and leading into a very successful, healthier, self-care driven 2026. All right. So let's start with number one, which ironically enough, the very first strategy right now is to start with one. And what that means is that maybe every single day of your life, you're just going with the motions. You're moving at a million miles an hour. You have so many things on your to-do list that all you want to do is just get as much done throughout the day and then go to sleep. Okay, that's you surviving. It's not thriving. So what I want you to do is I want you to start with one. That could mean 1 minute. That can even just be one repetition, right? One repetition of literally squatting, right? Squatting, as you know, maybe one of the more beneficial exercises to strengthen your hips and your knees. And let's say you have chronic low back and hip pain, for example. Give yourself a squat. Do one squat. Okay. That in itself is just a win. The smallest of wins, doing one repetition, or even if you set aside 1 minute, or let's say before your next meeting, you give yourself 1 minute to just sit there and to just breathe. Okay. What can breathing do for you? Breathing can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. It can also help you to reduce your blood pressure, reduce your heart rate, reduce any of the overwhelm or the stress that you're feeling. It may even help you to reduce some pain, right? Because when we're chronically in this cortisol driven society where we don't have the time to think or the time to breathe or the time to promote that self care, then that's how we feel. We just feel chronically stressed, and that stress can create physical manifestations of tension in our body. So what I want to do right now, and I don't really have like an actual timer, but let's say at least 8 breaths. What I want you to do right now, if you're watching this, is I want us to do at least 1 minute of breathing together. And the specific pattern that we're going to do is we're going to do at least 3 seconds in through our nose, and we're going to exhale for at least 6 seconds. So basically, we're doing almost 10-second breaths. And if we do the math, that we're going to do at least 6 breaths right now. Okay. So if you're watching this on recording, pause this video, do this as many times as possible, but let's do this live right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to breathe. So we're going to breathe in through our nose, breathe in. And close your eyes, like eliminate all the visual triggers as well. Exhale for 6. That's 1. Breathe in. Breathe out for 6. That's 2. Let's go for a third breath. Breathe in. And exhale. That's 3. Let's go for 4. We got 2 more after this. Exhale. 2 more breaths. Breathe in for 3. And out for 6. And last one here. Breathe in for 3. And out for 6. Now, what I want you to do right now is that was 6 breaths. Is those 10 seconds per breath, right? Or it's 10 seconds per, yeah. So 3 seconds and 6 seconds. What I want you to do is comment below how you feel right now. For me, I've had a very busy day. I've had multiple clients that I've seen on different coaching calls. I've had to create some content today. I've had to create some programs today. So I have not had an easy day at all. And my sleep has not been the best. I got maybe like 6.5 hours of sleep. What I want you to do right now is comment how you feel. What do you feel right now? Okay. For me, at least, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel a little bit more calm. I feel like I've gotten a little bit more blood flow and oxygen into my brain. I feel like some of the stress and the anxiety of how the day went today, I feel better. If I tested my heart rate right now, it might be a little bit lower. Even me speaking to you right now, I actually might be speaking to you a little bit more calmly. Some of you guys might feel that some of the tension in your shoulders or in your neck has lessened. Some people, they're watching this live stream or this replay right now, and they're really kind of like their shoulders are up to their ears. So they feel like they couldn't let go of their tension. You might notice that, like maybe you're like really tight in your hands, and maybe now your hands are a little bit more relaxed. Maybe your shoulders are a little bit more drooped down towards the floor rather than the shoulders hiking up to your ears. Okay. And I'm not purposely slowing down my talking, but right now I'm talking a little bit more calm. And that's the power of one. 1 minute can sometimes change how you feel. It can change how you feel mentally, physically, physiologically. And giving yourself those little 1 minute breaks at the minimum is what you can give to yourself out of how many hours in a day? 24. How many minutes? Okay. Like that's at least 60. So 60 times 24, 1,680 minutes. I don't want to do the math on the seconds, right? But you can at least say to yourself that out of the 1,680 minutes of your life, you're deserving. You are more than deserving of that 1 minute that can help to reduce blood pressure, tension, heart rate, and get yourself into a better state of relaxation. Okay. So starting with one repetition, 1 minute, you can give yourself that. And you can give yourself that multiple times in a day, right? If you did this 6 to 8 times during a work shift, how much better might you feel at the end of a workday? You might feel calmer. You might feel less angry at the world. You might feel that you don't get as agitated with your children or with your spouse. That 1 minute can be very powerful. And that 1 minute does not have to be breathing. It could be, okay, I have neck and back pain. I can do 1 minute of foam rolling. If I have leg pain, okay, I can do 1 minute of like stretching my hips or doing some squats, right? Okay, all that, whatever you want to do with that minute, give yourself that time. You deserve it, especially during the Christmas holidays, all right? Okay, let's go through number two. Number two coincides with starting with one, which is set a timer. Okay, because sometimes we need to physically see or actually activate a smart speaker or something. And we need to say, like, hey, like Alexa, set a timer for 1 minute. And that timer goes off. So, like, when you know that timer goes off, when you hear the buzzer, you know that at the minimum, you've given yourself a full minute. Like sometimes you might be like, oh yeah, Jay says, give me, start with one. Let me give yourself a minute. And all of a sudden, boom, you rushed your minute. You might have only given yourself 30 seconds, right? So setting an actual timer actually tells yourself that you gave yourself that 1 minute. That timer could be anything though, right? So if you start to get better with self-care, that can progress to 2 minutes, that can progress to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Maybe you start to give yourself more self-care and you're giving yourself 5 minutes of foam rolling or stretching or breathing. How much better would you feel when you set that timer and when you start to slowly increase the amount of time of that self-care? I'd argue that you start to reverse a lot of the decay, the stress, the inactivity, the sedentary behavior, and all the different negative habits that you've instilled into yourself to get yourself to this place of these multiple diagnoses and these pains that you're feeling. Okay, starting with one, but then if you're not even giving yourself that one, set the timer. Okay, that's why I always have my phone here, because the phone, I can physically, if you don't know how, if you're a little tech illiterate, you literally just go to your timer here, like so. This is my alarm clock, by the way. And I'm going to set a timer and reset this. And let me go ahead, like right here. Let me try to add on 1 minute right there. Okay, can you guys see that a bit? Sorry, it's a little bit faded. But that 1 minute, then I press time, right? So now you can see that timer is going off 58, 57, and I can do whatever I want with that minute. Okay, give yourself that time. Can't stress to you enough that if you are a busy parent, even if you're a busy, like high stress, high performer, and you're always like have this sense of like needing to achieve or needing to get stuff done, and you feel like you're always swarmed and overwhelmed by your to-do list, give yourself that time. And I promise you that even right now, as I'm talking to you right now, like I said, I'm not doing this on purpose, but I just feel calmer after that 1 minute of breathing. And whatever your body needs, if it's chronic back pain, okay, foam roll your back. Okay, I have plenty of tutorials about that. In fact, my Amazon storefront is going to be live. My pain relief movement system with video tutorials and things, it's going to be live coming up really soon as of mid-January. So if you're interested in grabbing that bundle, my 1 minute timer just went off. But if you're interested in getting your hands on my pain relief movement system that I've taken 9 months to perfect and craft, comment the word Amazon, and I'll throw in the link here. Well, I'll throw in the link in a bit. Some people can pre-order, but if you comment the word Amazon, I'll get you onto my wait list, and you should be able to take advantage of that. Okay, and I'll continue to tell you guys more about that. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, is set the timer and then slowly progress the timer in the same way that you're progressing like squats. You know, you can do 10-pound squats, and you can slowly progress the squats to more repetitions, or you can do more weight, which we call progressive overload. Progressively overload your self-care as well. So maybe you start off with, like, just how you start off with 1-pound dumbbell, you start off with 1 minute, but then you start to progress by giving yourself 2 minutes. Maybe you give yourself 2 minutes every hour at work. Again, imagine, imagine how much better you'll feel when you start to slowly increase the amount, the intensity, the duration of your self-care. Just imagine how that's going to change your life. All right. All right. So let's go through number 3. And number 3 is to schedule it in. Okay. Because one of the sayings that I've heard from Stephen Covey's book, which is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the things that stuck with me is a saying that he says in one of his habits. And the habit says that when you prioritize your schedule, but you don't schedule your priorities. Okay. You prioritize your schedule, but you don't schedule your priorities. So that means that whatever's on your calendar is that you let your calendar govern you. You let the calendar govern who you are. So if you have 8 meetings, you just slam through the meetings, and you let whatever meetings come your way, you let your meetings and your Zoom meetings govern you, instead of you being in control of the schedule itself. Okay. And it's a little bit of a mindset shift, is that even if you had a lot of meetings and you can anticipate that, is that maybe you anticipate saying everything that you need to on that meeting with your team, and you wrap everything up. You know, instead of 30-minute meeting, maybe you get the meeting done in 25 minutes, and then you give yourself 5 minutes of self-care. That's being very intentful and intentional, and it's making it purposeful for, I want to prepare, you know, what I want to say during that meeting. So you prepare in advance of that meeting, then you make the meeting shorter and you get everything done in less time. And then you create time to give yourself that self-care. Then you can give yourself, and, you know, start with the first 2 things, which was set a timer and at least start with 1 minute. Okay. And you can schedule this in. So like, you can physically say, from here on out, I'm going to give myself a 2-minute buffer in between my meetings. Or you can actually put into your Google or Apple Calendar, you can put self-care time, right? This is my self-care half hour. This is my self-care 10 minutes. This is my self-care time. You can put that into your calendar. And if you have a team, you can have everybody see, oh yeah, don't bother Jay during this self-care time. You can like intentionally set that time and be like, I don't want anybody to talk to me during that time. Or you have an assistant. I don't want you to schedule anything over my self-care time. Okay. So you govern that schedule, even if you didn't have an assistant. You have control over your schedule instead of the schedule controlling you. And that mindset shift will enable you to not just do self-care during the holidays, because let's face it, everyone usually has more time during the holidays. But let this trend continue into 2026, and let's become a better version of ourselves. Let's not have our schedules govern us or our kids' schedule govern us. Let's not just like wing it and survive the day. Let's not have our to-do list overwhelm every part of who we are, to the point where our health is declining each and every day and week and year. We need to start reversing that. Okay. So schedule things in. All right. Ready for number 4. Number 4 is triggers. Okay. So what are triggers? Now, there are 3 types of triggers. And I learned this from a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And it's something that inspired me to create my own habit courses. So I have 2 habit courses that I've sold and that I've given to people. And they have been very powerful to help people to live a pain-free life because their habits have been gotten so good. Their habits of movement and prioritizing self-care, right? So having a trigger, there are three types of triggers. One of them is visual. The second one is auditory. And then the third one is somatosensory. That's a big word right there. That's 6 syllables. The visual one is a little bit more obvious. So if you had a sticky note on your monitor that said, Jay, stretch every hour. Okay, that sticky note that you see that's bright blue and you wrote it yourself, you see it. So because when you see it, it might trigger you to take an action. Okay, the three phases of building a habit starts with a trigger, and then it's action, and then it's reward. Okay, so this was something that I'm not sure if this person coined it, but there is a scientist by the name of Pavlov, and Pavlov was known for Pavlov's law of conditioning. He basically had dogs that would basically the dogs came into this room, and what he would do is he would ring a bell, which was an auditory trigger. And then what that would do is the dog would go to the bell. Then the dog would see a piece of steak. And then what the dog would do when he sees and also starts to smell the steak is it would salivate. And then once it saw the steak, is that it would start chewing on it, right? And they repeated this over time in the same way that we would condition ourselves to build positive or negative habits, is that we need a continuous trigger, right? If we want to read every day, we want to try to make it as conscious as possible to the point where it becomes subconscious and therefore it becomes a habit. And so what Pavlov did was he repeated the cycle where he rang the bell, dog would come in, salivate, eat the steak. And guess what he did? The kicker was he eventually removed the steak. Okay, so he removed the smell of the steak. He also removed the reward, which was eating the steak. And guess what happened though? Even though he rang the bell and the dog would come into the room, it didn't smell anything, but it was the auditory trigger that still made the dog salivate. So the dog was salivating because of the steak, but now it salivates at the auditory trigger of the bell. And that's what we can do for ourselves. So if it's an auditory trigger, we can have alarms that go off that obviously when we hear our phone, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Very simple. We hear a notification. We pick up our phone, we look at it, we unlock it, and we, whatever notification, we take an action on it. We either reply to it, swipe it away, etc. Right? We can condition ourselves to build those positive habits through auditory triggers, visual triggers, and negative triggers. Auditory, visual, or somatosensory triggers. And somatosensory is things that we feel. So, for example, if it's hot outside, we drink water, right? So we feel heat on our skin. We might get thirsty, we drink water. If it's cold outside, the feeling of cold is you shiver, and then you grab a sweatshirt or a blanket, right? So we've been conditioned for that for a long time, right? I mean, even from a survival standpoint, when we were babies, whenever we got cold, we would either nestle up near mom or dad, or we put a sweater on, right? Okay, so that's somatosensory. Somatosensory can be heat, it can be cold, it can be you pinch yourself, it could be vibration. So like a vibration of your smartwatch, a vibration of a phone. So that's somatosensory. It's like what you feel. And obviously auditory is what you hear, and then visual is what you see. So if you were to come up with something, here's a sequence that you can make. You can say, hey, every time I end a virtual meeting with a team member or a prospect or something, is anytime I press the red end button on my Zoom channel, I will get to the floor and I will stretch my back or I'll foam roll. I say this from actual experience. When I press the red end button of almost anything, I actually have a foam roll in this room and I foam roll. So now the physical sensation and the click of my mouse And the visual signal of pressing a red end button on my Zoom link is I get to the floor subconsciously now and I foam roll. And then my neck and my back feel looser. It feels better. And that requires conscious effort in the beginning to build that habit. And then over time, usually over at least, for some people, they say research says that it takes at least 66 days to build a habit. And eventually that becomes more subconscious. Okay. So I spend a lot of time on the triggers because this is a very tactical way to remove negative habits and to instill good ones. And I would argue that the good ones that I would want you to instill are triggers that eventually take the actions of some form of movement or exercise, because movement and exercise is the medicine to reduce most chronic disease and to reduce pain. Okay, so that's number 4, triggers. All right, we got 2 more here. Number 2, I'm just going to say it again, which is priorities. Okay, even though we said that during Schedule It In, is we can't say it enough. And I'm going to break this down a little bit more. Is that sometimes there is this book that I want to relate to you, and another book that I really love is called The One Thing by Jay Papasan. Basically, he says that focusing on one thing enables you to get that one thing done and to feel fulfilled and to feel accomplished. But many of us have this laundry list of to-dos. Like, let's say we have 10 to-dos, and we try to distribute our time and our efforts towards all 10 of those things. Or let's say at least 3 of those things. So project A, project B, project C. And if you try to do all 3 in one day, you might just get 33% of each of those things done, but not gotten any of them done completely. So that makes you feel unfulfilled, unaccomplished. It makes you frustrated and stressed and overwhelmed. And that's what a lot of people do. Have you not felt that way? Write down the comment to do if you ever felt this way. Write to do in the comments, where if you've ever felt that you got maybe a little bit of something done, but then you pile on like another to do. And so it always feels like a never ending list of to dos or tasks. So you just feel like you're just drowning in your own schedule. You're drowning in your own task. Okay. What this book says to us is, amongst those 10 things, and this is where you have to sit down with your to-do list, is prioritize what is the number one thing. And I'm going to say why. So if you get the number one thing done, then you feel very fulfilled and you get this dopamine rush of accomplishment, or serotonin, right? Serotonin is actually ranking ourselves. So we feel like we're of higher rank and we feel happier when we get that one thing done. So the question to ask is, what is the number one thing on this to-do list, to the point where I will feel very accomplished and everything else on this list feels borderline unnecessary? Okay. So if you read the question that is repeated in Jay Papasan's book, The One Thing, is they'll say, what is the number one thing that you can do in your business? What's the number one thing you can do in your fitness? What's the number one thing you can do with your finances? What is the number one thing that you can do with your relationships? What is the number one thing, right? To the point where it feels the most important, it makes you feel fulfilled, and everything else doesn't matter that day, right? If I just get this one thing done, I feel amazing. I feel accomplished. Because what is that going to do? It's going to change your neurochemicals. You're going to feel happy. You're going to feel more motivated. And it might create more room, more time, more effort, and more of a prioritization to prioritize the exercises, right? You get the number one thing done for work. And now it created more time for you to spend on your exercise regimen. Do you follow me and see how that works? Number one, right? So like, what is that number one thing? Okay. Prioritization. Okay. If you haven't read that book, amazing book, but it just speaks to like learning how to prioritize. So usually I'll look at my to-do list at like 8 in the morning after I drop off my son. I usually will look at this list and be like, what is the number one thing that I want to get done today? Okay. And then after that, I'll usually write at least number 2, because if I get number one thing done really fast, I'll therefore start working on number 2. But usually in between number 1 and 2, I will exercise, or I'll do something. I'll reward myself with some sort of exercise, because I love exercise. I really hope that your reward to yourself eventually will be exercise too. Okay. But prioritization, what is the number one thing in your life that you can get done? All right. Last and final thing. And I think we'll wrap this up. And I hopefully that you get some form of, value from this. And if you did, comment below, like what is like the number one thing that you're going to take from today? What is amongst the 6 things that I teach you? What's the one that you're going to like for sure use? Okay. I love to get your feedback. I love to see what on these live streams that you guys find most valuable too. So outside of these 6 things, feel free to give me any form of feedback because I really want to genuinely help you guys. And if you feel like I'm genuinely helping you, the best way you can reciprocate is just clicking a like on this video. You can comment and engage with the video. More importantly is subscribing. If you subscribe and click that bell notification, it will, quote unquote, it will trigger YouTube to push this video of value or push any of my other videos of value. It will push it to more people that are in dire need of this type of information. So really hope that and appreciate you guys, and hopefully you can do the same by subscribing, following, and just engaging with my page. I appreciate that. Last one here is knowing your why. Number 6 is knowing your why. Okay, this was something that I learned from a Canadian author and speaker. His name is Simon Sinek, and you can look up some of his stuff. And knowing your why is basically saying that I could be talking a whole bunch of strategies and tactics right now to get you to do self-care. So you can know what to do, which is you obviously write down these 6 things that I told you about self-care. You can know how to do it. And I hopefully the past 30 minutes or so, I have explained how you can incorporate this into your life. So you know what are the 6 self-care tactics that I just taught today. You know how to do it because I delineated it and I told you step by step how to start with one and set a timer and schedule it in and have a trigger and how to prioritize. But all of that there, my friend, is null and void and ineffective, and inconsequentially, you are going to fail again and again. And whatever I say, you're just going to fail if you don't know why. So this why is asking yourself the hard questions that will make you feel emotional, right? So what I say is if you have diabetes right now, okay, or if you have some sort of fatal disease right now, or whatever it feels, comment below what are some of the ailments, symptoms, or diagnoses that you're trying to solve going into 2026 and going into the new year. What is that? Okay, now let's start with what. What is I have diabetes or I have chronic back pain? That is your what. All right, now what you want to do is how. How are you going to solve this back pain? How are you going to solve your diabetes? And we're not going to go through all that together, but in a nutshell, most people that have diabetes or back pain can benefit from diet modification, increasing their exercise, increasing the intensity and the length of those exercises. It's monitoring what you eat. It's building habits and consistency. That's your what. Okay, so that's your what. It's like, okay, well, I can write that down and I can physically say, this is what, this is what I'm trying to solve for, and this is how I'm going to do it. But you don't ask why. There are far too many people that don't ask why. Okay, now let's insert that into the first one. Why are you looking to solve your diabetes, or why are you looking to reverse your diabetes? And answer that question, and I want you to write it down. You don't have to write it down here because maybe I'll get a little personal, but write it down somewhere. And let's say what you write down is, I want to get rid of my diabetes because I want to feel better. The diabetes makes me feel lethargic. I sometimes feel faint. Okay. Then now that you've explained some of that, say that again. Why do you not want to feel lethargic? Why do you not want to feel so faint and lack of energy? And maybe you say, well, I don't want to show up like that in front of my kids or in front of my wife. And that makes me a little frustrated, right? It makes me feel like I I'm not giving my 100% self to my family. And then say it again. Why? Why do you want to get back to your 100% self? Why is this so important to you right now to not just solve your diabetes, but to improve your energy levels, to become more present with your family, right? To not feel a shell of yourself. And sometimes you're like, well, damn, like I didn't realize I could take it that deep, right? And maybe you never even asked yourself that question. And then at some point, at least for me personally, I'm a very I'm a very introverted person, but I'm also very emotional. Um, I've cried at my wedding. I nearly cried when I proposed to my wife. I cried when I had my first kid. So I have a lot of emotion. But when I ask myself why, what I always say is I want to keep asking myself why until it puts me to tears. Because when it puts you to tears and when it's eliciting such strong emotions, because what and how oftentimes don't elicit that emotion, but why does, the WHY. When you ask yourself why you want to be present and you're just like, because I feel hopeless, right? Because I feel destitute. Because if I don't solve this now, I'm going to be dead when I'm 50, or I'm going to be in a wheelchair when I'm 60. And I'm going to be a really burden. I'm going to be a burden to my family. And then my kid's life is going to suffer. My kid is going to be worried about me surviving instead of my kid trying to get through college, or my kid trying to start their own family. And I just don't want to be that person. I I I feel that this is the time, right? And that type of why will help you, and it'll compel you through massive amounts of emotion to the point where you want and you're striving. And it doesn't matter if you develop so many negative habits, is you can almost throw all those negative habits aside, and you can start to give yourself the self-care that you deserve, right? And then you can start to reverse all the damage and all the things that you've done in your life, and you start getting yourself back to the point where you start to feel alive again, you start to feel better, and you start to feel pain-free, and you can reverse your diabetes, right? So that's the last one. And I think that arguably the last one is the most powerful one. All the other ones are great, right? And all the other ones are very tactical, and they tell you what and how, right? But without why, without having that why that you can grasp on, that you can sink your teeth into, that compels you to tears and compels you to such emotions that it's making your making your back hair stand up. It's making your heart race. It's making you tear up. Okay. Without that, I'd argue that a lot of people that can't elicit that emotion, it's hard. It's hard to stay consistent. It's hard to develop the habits that I'm telling you guys. It's hard to continuously give back to yourself in the form of self care. And I ask myself why so often, um, that it doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. It doesn't matter if I have seen 7, 8, 10 clients. It doesn't matter. Like, I get the time to give back to my body, and that's that's creating that's cooking the right foods, that's running outside, that's strengthening my body, that's working on my heart health and my brain health, that's journaling, that's breathing throughout the day, that's foam rolling, and I give myself back. And don't get me wrong, like, you might be thinking right now, it's like, Josh, Jade, like, where do you find the time? Like, that seems selfish, right? And I always say that self-care is not selfish. I care deeply about my clients. I care deeply about my wife and my kids, and I give them my 100% attention and what they deserve. But then what I do is that when the lights are off or when they're asleep and when I have my alone time, I'm not on social media just like scrolling, doom scrolling, right? I am either learning something on YouTube, spitfiring my knowledge back onto these live streams, or I am giving myself back, right? And even in LA, like when I was with my family, every day that my kids went to sleep, I was like, this is my time. You know, I deserve it. I want to do it. And I ran 5 days a week and I lifted weights um, 3 to 4 times out of the 7 days that I was in LA with my in laws, right? I gave myself that time. And I hope that you guys can do exactly the same with the strategies I just mentioned. So to recap, and I can throw these into the comments. So that way, you know, if you ever come back to this video, you don't need to watch the entire video. You can at least just have a brief synopsis of it. But number one is start with one. Number two is set a timer. Number three is to schedule an in. Number four is to have a trigger, okay, auditory, visual, or somatosensory. Number five is to prioritize. And lastly, number six is to know your why and to ask yourself why. Why do you want to get healthier? Why do you want to give yourself the self-care that you deserve? Okay. All right. I'm going to put that into the comments. Okay. If you see that comment there, drop a like onto that comment. Really appreciate that. And, you know, this is my gift to you. Christmas is coming up soon. I'm likely going to have one more live stream before the end of the year just to kind of wrap things up. But this is my gift to you. My gift to so many people is my drive, my tenacity, my passion for helping people, the knowledge that I've accumulated over a 10-year span of being a doctor of physical therapy to 6 to 7 years of being a coach and to helping people to eliminate chronic pain and to help them build longevity. And this is my life's work. This is something that I love to do. And if you want to reciprocate and provide a gift to me, all I ask is that you share what I've given to you and you share that with others. Share it with others, share the knowledge, share my page, share the links to certain videos that you'd like. Also subscribe and a follow. It does actually go a long way in order to allow YouTube to sense that there's engagement on this channel and to push some of my content to other people so that I can continue to grow the channel. All right. That's it. Got a little emotional here and I feel great. I feel amazing. I'm going to spend some time with family. I really hope that you guys do the same as well. And I'll see you guys on the next live training. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Happy holidays and have a beautiful start to your 2026.